In this video, we'll be talking about natal moon in Scorpio in the 10th house and what this placement means for you if you have it in your birth chart. With that being said, what the moon represents in astrology is it represents emotions and how we feel fulfillment and how we feel secure in the world and in our relationships to others especially. And it also represents our upbringing and how we were raised and specifically our relationship to the mother figure and how this affected our psychology or our needs. And it shows the needs that we had from the mother figure, I should say. So it also can show traits of the mother and how we were nurtured, because the moon really represents our needs and how we perceive that they were met by the mother. So as a child, the moon showed like how as a child we perceived the mother, or like perceived our needs, like what we expected from our mother. And then the aspects to your moon shows how those things were met, and whether they were met, or like how you perceived your mother as a result of your needs, because the way we perceive our mother is really just a projection of what we feel that we need. That's why you can have a few siblings, right? And you can look at their chart and they could have completely different moon signs than you. And that's because they had different needs that resonated with their, personal emotions. And so they perceived the mother, they perceived your mother, your guys' mother, differently than you. And they have like a different relationship to the mother than you do. So and that is all based on what their needs were and how they projected that onto the mother and whether they felt like those things were fulfilled, So that's a quick lesson on the moon. But when the moon is in Scorpio, it is debilitated, because Scorpio is all about desires, lack, and about unfulfillment. It's all about desire and motivation. It's ruled by Mars and Pluto, and it shows this tendency or this feeling that we need to fight for the things that we need, or that we need to control or manipulate things in our favor to meet our needs, or generally speaking that we could have felt unfulfilled in terms of our emotional needs, or like that we weren't necessarily attended to. And it also shows somebody that has an insatiable appetite for a certain fulfillment. Like they could have like an insecurity that they're always pursuing or chasing fulfillment in emotional sense. So with that being said, when the moon is in Scorpio in the 10th house, which is the house of authority, position, respect, and the opinions of others, for the most part, they show somebody that has this emotional need for self-reliance and authority. They need to be their own boss, or they need to control or have the decision-making power within their careers, because the 10th house is about career especially. So having a planet here gives it gives career an importance in your chart. So one of your emotional needs in order to feel secure is to be self-reliant and to be in control of your own life and your own decisions. And you have this emotional need for independence or being able to make your own decisions. But for you, since the moon is in Scorpio, this feels like a power struggle. It feels like something you always had to fight for within your family or within the upbringing. You always had to fight for respect, because the 10th house is ruled by Saturn, and it is the sign Capricorn. So you always felt like you had to prove yourself, or like on an emotional level, nobody naturally gave you the respect that you deserved. And so you have an insatiable appetite for success and for respect, which manifests as a positive trait in the sense that you're very driven and you're very ambitious when you have this placement. So although on an emotional level there could be a wound or insecurity, it also drives your greatest successes in life. And for you, respect is very important, and for your position to be respected is very important. And essentially sometimes you have to struggle or fight for that, because Scorpio is about power struggles and it's about fights. And since the moon shows things that we're comfortable with, or it's approaches to life that we learned in upbringing, especially in our way of relating to others, you just learned that you had to fight for respect. And like, you had to kind of manipulate circumstances in your favor for people to respect you. So let me give you an example of like a picture that's popping up in my mind, like a motion picture, like a story. Essentially, you grow up in a family where people don't give you respect, like they don't take you seriously. And it's only when they need you, or that you get in a position of where they need you, that you can command the respect that you deserve. And at the same time, they will be kind of salty or jealous about it. It's like no matter what you do, you cannot get these people to graciously give you the respect you deserve. That's the type of like feeling or family or circumstance that you manifest. But of course, you can change the people that I'm talking about. You can like substitute that with, you know, a different context. But that's like the story that's popping up in my mind. And so, you know, this is the type of person that it's only when the family needs them that now they get the respect. So again, this is because Scorpio is about power struggles, control, and it's about resources. So in the family, the person that had the most control, the most say, or the most resources was the one that was respected, and that kind of had a monopoly in terms of control. So you were always seen as a subordinate, and it was always to a negative extent. So not only were you seen as a subordinate, but they made you feel like that. And that came from insecurities in the way that your superiors were raised, or your upbringing. And this could also be something that you attract in the workplace. So maybe it was not your parents, but maybe it's your bosses. You always manifest bosses which reflect to you this moon in Scorpio. Like, your bosses always have that need to subordinate others. So this drives you to your ultimate success, and eventually you'll reach a place of self-reliance when you have this placement, where you supersede your predecessors. So like, the thing though is it takes a lot of power struggle, like battling and like fighting for what you need or what you deserve. And the natural sign that has the 10th house in Scorpio is Aquarius. Aquarius is all about independence, self-reliance, rebellion, and going our own way, doing things our own way. So an Aquarius that has this placement, or even a Capricorn that has this placement, they just feel as though they need to prove themselves to others to get respect. Whereas, you know, a different moon placement would show an Aquarius that is more independent, self-reliant, and they don't necessarily feel disrespected or feel like they need to gain the respect of others as much. So and also what I'm trying to say too is that by talking about this is that, you know, the moon in a different placement which shows somebody that finds self-reliance or independence in a detached or like self-reliant way. Like, they don't feel like they need to fight others for independence, or like they don't manifest situations where in order to have independence and free will and free decision and freedom, I meant to say free decision making and freedom, they don't have to fight. So but for you, since you have it in your 10th house and you have it in Scorpio in terms of the moon, like, you tend to be the type of Aquarius that gets into situations where you have to like earn your freedom, and it just can be coming from a natural like comfort zone that you developed that was, you know, unhealthy around, you know, power struggles. And it could just be like the paradigm that you manifest. You always manifest a paradigm where you feel controlled and you have to fight for the freedom. Whereas, like, as I was saying, or as I was trying to say, you know, the other types of Aquarius and the other with a different moon placement, they might naturally look for freedom in a different place. But like, you always come from a place of like maybe lack, like starting out from a lack of respect, a lack of control, and like having to build your way up, you know. So let me just put it very simply, you know, in an example. Whereas one Aquarius might try to manifest freedom from, you know, finding a way to create by creating their own business, or like pursuing their own personal hobbies or interests as a living and trying to turn that into a career. You would be the type of person that would settle for a traditional, you know, corporate career or something, and you'll have to like fight for that freedom, whereas somebody else would just find it just by, you know, becoming self-employed. And by somebody else, I meant a different Aquarius, somebody with the same ascendant, or like a Capricorn like yourself, that has, you know, the moon somewhere else. Because those of you guys that are watching this video will either be Aquarius or Capricorn for the most part. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully my example made sense. But like you basically, essentially, you're a very freedom-loving person, or like a very success-loving person. Like you like the privileges of working hard and having what you deserve, and also having decision-making abilities. But since you have the moon in the 10th house in Scorpio, you always manifest situations where you have to prove yourself, which is not necessarily the reality of things, but it's just what you attract. Because again, the moon in Scorpio shows it's a debilitated moon, and it shows, you know, becoming comfortable with uncomfortable situations, or like with psychologically complex upbringings, or ways of relating to others. So your mindset might be more closed-minded in the way that you try to find freedom or success, but also you achieve a lot of success through battling and like struggling and fighting for what you deserve, though, because technically the moon is in the highest point of the chart. So nobody is more successful than moon in Scorpio in the 10th house when it comes to the Aquarius and Capricorns that have the 10th house in Scorpio, or some of you guys may have it in Libra. So anyways, I hope that this was insightful. That basically summarizes what I wanted to talk about for this video. So if you did enjoy and you learned something new about yourself or others, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel for more content. If you'd like to see more content, I should say. And if you would like a free natal chart reading, then I am doing that for my Jupiter tier patrons on Patreon. So definitely check that out in the link in my description to my Patreon. And basically I do a free natal chart reading, breaking down each of your placements in a personalized video format, which is privately sent to you through a YouTube link. So if that interests you, then check the link in my description. I also have an email in my description if you'd like to book a natal chart reading that way, or if you have any other inquiries that you feel called to let me know or ask. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys watching and supporting in any way that you do. And I will talk to you guys sometime soon in another video. Peace. So this tendency also that this placement has to always feel like they have to fight for respect or authority can also come from the fact that they will tend to care a lot about the opinions of others, or how others feel about them. And they also tend to care a lot about their reputation, because moon in Scorpio is about deeply caring about something. The 10th house is the house of our reputation, and it's also the house of the emotions of the public, or the emotions of others, because it opposes the 4th house, which is about our own emotions. Oppositions are always about others. So that's why the 10th house is about the emotions of others. And that's why it shows our reputation, because it's how others feel about us. So you have this uncontrollable care or attachment to how other people think or feel about you when you have this placement. And you have this desire to command respect. And this could also be an aspect of why you always tend to get in situations where you have to fight to prove yourself or to gain respect from the public. And a lot of times you'll keep your emotions or your motivations, you know, secret, because Scorpio is about secrecy. So a lot of times these people are more private about their ambitions, their goals, which is a good thing because it's great for manifesting success. Scorpio is all about manifestation, and in the 10th house it's about success. But also they will be more private about how they come across on social media or online or in the public sector. They will be more low-key, and they will hide, you know, what it is that they're doing. They won't be so expressive or talk about everything for fear of revealing their goals or revealing too much about themselves. So that's the last thing. Also, as I was saying, like, you can't help but care what other people feel about you, and it angers you when people disrespect you or have like a negative opinion of yourself, or really just a low opinion. That is another aspect of having this placement too.